At this juncture, we will take a special feature on the critical role of women's leadership in Africa's advancement into the future. I like this. What role can women play in helping our continent advance into the future? And we have a very distinguished personality who is going to speak to us very briefly on this. Professor Candance M is an associate clinical professor and Harold R.W. Benjamin Professor in the Higher Education Student Affairs International Education Policy Program within the Department of Counseling, Higher Education and Special Education at the University of Maryland. I'm sure you would enjoy reading the rest of her profile when you go into the brochure. But please join me, let's welcome Professor Candance M to speak with us.
Good afternoon. Oh, with all of these young people in this room, let's try that again. Good afternoon. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today. I am able to share a platform with such distinguished guests and colleagues. Thank you each for your work and your contributions to knowledge both in Africa and globally. I offer my sincere appreciation to Dr. Day Tume and the outstanding team of the AfLIGA for extending to me the invitation to join you today. I would be remiss if I did not also acknowledge Nana. God bless you. I would like to take just a moment of privilege to recognize my own community of support before I speak. I would like to thank my first teachers, my parents, for their encouragement and also support. I am surrounded by a host of amazing family and friends that help to support the work that I do each day. But I am most grateful for my husband, for his steadfast love and commitment. May the Lord continue to bless them. My remarks today focused on lifting as we climb, the critical role of women's leadership in Africa's advancement into the future. This topic is quite important and has lasting impacts both in Africa and globally. The lead into my title, Lifting as We Climb, is the motto of the National Association of Colored Women. This organization was founded in 1896 by Miss Mary Church Terrell, who was born during the American Civil War in 1863. This organization of Black feminists and anti-racist activists focused on raising the awareness of issues faced by Black people with an emphasis on the liberation of Black women in American society. They tirelessly fought for the right of women to vote, to have a voice in the laws and policies and regulations that govern the country for which they lived, worked, and died. Black women knew then, and even today, they know. As Dr. Maya Angelou once pronounced, and I quote, "As a Black feminist, I recognize that my power, as well as my primary oppression, comes as a result of my Blackness as well as my womanness. My struggles on both of these fronts are inseparable," end quote. Therefore, the members of the National Association for Colored Women acknowledged that lifting as we climbed included the importance of educational attainment for Black women to disrupt this oppressive narrative. Dr. James Emmanuel Quigleri-Agri taught us that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a family. That's important, and it's very valuable in the ways in which we are able to acknowledge what leadership looks like. Our chairwoman indicated from the very start of a family structure, the woman is leading. And our esteemed scholars continue to educate us to that point. And so, I submit, in order for Africa to advance and become the world leader it's always been positioned to be, we must develop our young women as leaders, period, full stop. As we climb, we will continue to lift Africa as a whole, inclusive of our children, men and women, into the future. Francia Marquez, a Colombian civil rights activist, feminist, and politician, reminds us that when a woman speaks out in politics, she doesn't speak for herself. She speaks for her people, for her ancestors, for those who were silenced, for those yet to be born. So you ask, how does the leadership development of women inform this catalyst for international and continental development in Africa? Well, my friends, this happens through three dimensions, or rather the three R's. Rejoining with our past, reinvesting in our present, and regenerating our collective future. Employing these dimensions into the fabric of our society allows Black women to lift as we climb into a more inclusive and productive, sustainable society, both for Africa and globally. Firstly, rejoining with our past requires us to reconnect with our ancestors, both physically and spiritually. Professor Ama-Atu Edu reminds us that there are powerful forces undermining progress in Africa, but one must never underestimate the power of the people to bring about change. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to recall the lessons that our ancestors taught us through stories and remember the local practices. It's through our local knowledge and indigenous practices that we are able to rejoin ourselves with our ancestors and employ those lessons into our leadership structures. Professor Essie Sutherland Adie tells us that if we forget who we are, we cease to exist. And the worst thing is to let someone else tell us who we are. We can shift the influence of external forces by rejoining with our past so that we are able to focus on our missions and goals by using the resources and lessons from the past. We should be reinvesting in our present to increase our productivity and advancement. Throughout her life, Dr. Efua Theodore Sutherland, a Pan-Africanist and anti-colonial scholar, highlighted her commitment to education and female empowerment by denoting that women have the power to shift industry, politics, economics, and knowledge through education, through cultivating self-rediscovery, exploring national identity through education, ensuring women connect with uneducated communities to spread knowledge, understanding the value of having educated women in marriages and society, and finally, empowering women through the vast opportunities awaiting them in literature and the arts. Developing women as leaders in our youth programs, universities, and in public and private industries only amplifies Dr. Sutherland's call to action for our society. Regenerating our collective future promotes the sustainability of a more advanced African, international, and continental society. Inherent in the motto, lifting as we climb, is the notion of collectivism and forward movement and thinking. Through women's leadership development, we inspire innovation. We foster environments that push boundaries and strongly encourage the value of collaboration. Our Chicana sisters of Mexican-American heritage have a term called femtorship. They rely on the power and energy of women to guide relationship instead of the formerly used term of mentorship. Women have a special approach to understanding how to motivate and guide people. Through our femtorship of other women across industries and organizations, we have the capacity to make sustainable changes in our communities that make this world more inclusive and highly productive for all people. Women leaders are simply at the heart of this catalyst for the advancement of African development. Dr. Maya Angelou writes in her book, "All God's children need traveling shoes," that if the heart of Africa remained elusive, my search for it had brought me closer to understanding myself and other human beings. You see, the world is searching to find the heart of Africa. That elusive heart is women leaders. To empower this catalyst for advancement, we must employ the 3 R's and rejoin with our past, reinvest in our present, and regenerate our collective future. You see, that's how we lift as we climb. That is how we bring all of our brothers and sisters into the opportunities that are abound. We have the ability to change the course in Africa, and with Africa leading the next generation, as women, leaders, we have the opportunity to ultimately change the world. Thank you.